Welcome to Intake. This is Bertha's Corner, and I am Bertha Freeman Barrett. Joining me today is Elisabeth Cotton from Alaska. So give the viewers some background information on yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Elisabeth Cotton. I live in Anchorage, Alaska, and I specialize in trauma and dissociation. Alaska has some of the highest generational trauma and traumatizing clients just due to our climate, high suicide rates. With the darkness and all of that, it can be very challenging to get extra support due to limited population. So I specialize in trauma, addiction, anxiety, and depression. So I'm really grateful to be here today.
Nice. Well, we're glad to have you. So, with the COVID-19 going on, we're all experiencing a new norm. What are some of the things that you are seeing in Alaska with your clients?
Yeah, so I was kind of reflecting back, and the last time I had an in-person session was Friday the 13th, which is kind of crazy to think about how all this happened, and that was my last time in session. So I'm going on almost 2 months of being completely telehealth, and that has been just a whole transition on its own. You know, clients trying to build that trust with me with not having that in-person connection, having it be on screen. A lot of people are struggling with isolation. So depression rates are really increasing, anxiety rates, you know, using your friends or your social network to decrease your stress, have a place to vent, have just a space where you could sit on a couch with your friend and just watch a show. And now all of that has changed, and all of the coping skills that I've taught my clients to use are no longer effective because they need other humans in order to make them go through. So we've been working on lots of strategies on self-love, self-compassion, self-soothing. How can I do coping skills that I don't really require other people, which can be really challenging, but also it's been really empowering for clients to realize how strong they are, how empowered they are to get through hard times, how they have so many resources that they didn't even know they had, that they've been able to access due to the climate in our society. So it's been definitely a shift, but I've been so impressed to see just how so many people have overcome adversity.
Nice. Okay. Wonderful. All right. So I don't want to ignore the fact that you also have a YouTube channel. Tell the viewers about that.
Yeah, so I created a YouTube channel a couple of months ago. I was in a session with a client, and I kept sending clients other people's YouTube channels that was talking about our sessions or other mental health coping skills. And I was like, why not create a channel so I can send them my own face, so that way they know, oh yeah, we talked about this and now she's explaining it, or they can watch the video in between sessions if they have more questions. So it's just Elisabeth Cotton, and I do it on mental health, self-help, and motivation. And it's been a really fun journey, and I've been able to meet a lot of cool people since starting.
Cool. I think it's cool too that you would do that to better assist your clients as well. It's a great idea for other therapists to think about doing some type of videos, even if it isn't YouTube, just so the client will have something to reflect on and be able to see your face. You know, because oftentimes clients want to call us off the schedule. Yeah.
Yes,
But being
exactly.
able to have something to reflect upon is a great idea. So I commend you on that. Okay, so tell the viewer some things that you are doing to help your clients cope.
Yeah, so what I'm really trying to focus on is just in sessions, we're really limiting the amount of time that we actually talk about the virus. For the first couple of weeks, it was like 2 weeks straight, and that's all anyone wanted to talk about was how the virus is impacting them. And I think it's important that we address that. But that was installing so much fear that people were not able to even check their mailbox, or they were having groceries delivered and they had sanitized them and they still weren't able to bring the groceries in their house. And so I said, we'll still talk about the virus, because I still really want to validate that feeling and that concerns, but let's also try to get back into some type of routine. You know, can you go on a walk? Can you do some at-home exercise? Can you do something new with your kiddos that you would have never done before? Like maybe you do a baking show, or you do like a cookie decorating, and you start to incorporate things that you wouldn't have been able to do, and focus on those strengths of, I've got extra time on my hand, or I'm at home more. What are some things that I can do to utilize this time that I have? with all this fear and acknowledging that this fear is real and validating that it's scary and uncertain. And when we are scared and we're uncertain, our anxiety starts to elevate and it starts to increase. So doing lots of things of, thought checking, where are my thoughts at? Are they more negative? Are they more positive? Is it more anxious? Is it more down? And depending on where their headspace is at, doing different coping skills to kind of help bounce back into what we call as the window of tolerance.
Great. Great. Okay. So I asked another therapist this in a previous interview, is that when COVID-19 started, they listed essential workers.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health providers were not a part of that until they noticed the increase of anxiety, depression, and so many other things that was triggering people with this virus, including trauma, substance abuse, all of that. And so then it's like the light bulb comes on and go, okay, we need some mental health professionals. And what can we do to get you guys to the people who need you? And so I'm asking you this question because, for one, what I've noticed consistently is that whenever we have a crisis in the US, whether it's a school shooting, a church shooting, whatever it may be, then mental health becomes, a thing that we need now. Mm-hmm. Then once the crisis is over, it dies down. And the stigmas continue, and we don't want to talk about mental health. Nobody wants to see a therapist. And it's, and because if you do see a therapist, and that means that something is wrong with you, you're crazy, whatever crazy means. So, tell me, what do you think about this whole oversight, first of all, of mental health providers being first responders? Because I get a lot of emails often from mental health organizations, and they call us the silent frontliners, which I don't mind because I enjoy doing what I'm doing. But the ideal of this show is to help to bring mental health to the forefront and to help stop the stigmas that are associated with mental health and mental illnesses. So give me your thoughts on that.
I completely agree. And I think it's just so sad that, we got our hunker down, and I had to email my clients within 24 hours. I can't see you in person, and I don't know when I can. And for a lot of people that I had been seeing weekly, it was like a shock to the system of, wait, I can't see you, and now I can't see you in person, and I don't know till when. And the amount of phone calls and emails that I got was like, is this mandatory? Why? I don't understand. There was so much confusion of like, my insurance covers this, so why can't I continue? And so having to explain to them, our society isn't where you're at. So you are ahead of society. And I have to tell my clients, you are ahead of society. You believe that mental health is important and you're taking care of your mental health. Unfortunately, our society isn't where you're at. So I am so happy that you value this experience of therapy and just self-development. But the best thing that I tell them, I said, the best thing you can do is tell your friends, your family, how therapy has helped you. So that way they're like, oh, well, my friend's in therapy. That's kind of cool. Or my cousin, or this and that. And I really encourage them to advocate, because the next person they tell. And then before you know it, people in power and politics are going to start hearing, oh, well, this everyday people are in therapy. Maybe it's a little bit more important than we're giving it credit to. But it's just been the influx of just requests for sessions. It's just been so much that my wait list, unfortunately, I'm like, I can't see everyone. I wish I could, but there's just such a huge demand now, because people that are struggling with isolation are realizing, man, it's getting really bad. My depression's getting worse. My PTSD is being triggered, and I don't have my go-to coping skills, and I don't know what to do. So kind of a really state of uneasiness. And once I took mental health away, that go-to like number one helping thing, it was like, well, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine, because a lot of times we don't think about it, because I'm in Florida. It's bright and it's sunny, the weather is kind of crazy right now, but we don't think about places like Alaska where, you know, the darkness and how that can affect people. You know, earlier you talked about depression rates being high up there because of that issue. And a lot of times we ignore it and don't think about how our environment plays a part in our mental health. And so most people just simply think that, you know, I have to be diagnosed with a disorder, you know, something like that for me to be able, well, to be required to go see a mental health professional. A lot of people don't understand that just the very increase in stressors, feeling so down that it affects your everyday functioning.
Yes.
And that's what I try to explain to people all the time, is that we all feel stressed, even mental health professionals. We all feel stressed, but when it becomes a point of affecting your daily living, it becomes a problem. My passion is to help people understand how vitally important mental health is to our overall existence. Because I know as a therapist, when I study and as I research, that if we don't care for our mental health, a lot of times the way our brain works and all of these hormones, it causes a physical response. And so if we teach more people about the importance of mental health, mental wellness, what that looks like, maintaining that, and understanding, first of all, that we all have a mental health, because a lot of people don't get it because of these stigmas. The same way that we have a physical health, we have a mental health, and helping them understand that and the importance of caring for that. Because a lot of times we can stop the onset of some physical things as well if we learn how to care for our mental health. So how do you educate your clients as far as mental health?
Yeah, I kind of remind them it's a mind-body connection. So as a society, I truly believe that we teach people to disconnect from the head and neck. And so we, as a society, teach people what's the logic, what's the facts, think logically. And I really encourage my clients, let's bridge this gap of the mind-body, because our body stores our memories, our body stores our trauma. And when our body is unwell, it tells us in such a beautiful way, but we're so disconnected that we're thinking, I'm fine, I'm okay. What are you talking about? And when we can connect to our body, and let's say, for example, when I get stressed, my body tells me, because my shoulders literally do this. And I go, vroom, and my shoulders are all the way at my ears. And if I'm not connected to my body, I'm going to be like, why I have so much tension? Why am I so stressed? But I really value the importance of the mind-body connection. And I teach all my clients, connect to your body, because when you start to get symptoms of depression or anxiety, that's your body's way of saying something in your life is not going well. Let's take a look at that. Let's check in. Let's talk about that. We get so used to being like, I can't check in with my body, because if I check in with my body, then I can't power through this really tough day and go. And we live in a society that doesn't practice pausing and just being in the moment. And so connecting to our body is really the opposite of what we teach people. And so I'm really trying to work against societal norms and say, no, check in with your body. If you start to have tension that you've never had before, there's probably a connection and a reason why.
Yeah.
Our bodies don't just have weird experiences for no reason. And so using that practice of, all right, if I now have some weird tension in my shoulders, what is it telling me? Is it telling me I'm excited or sad or angry or overwhelmed? And using that, because in the future, if I now know this part holds stress, every time I experience that activation, I'm going to know, oh, I need to pause. My stress levels are a little bit higher.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. So what demographic do you serve?
I serve about freshmen, so 14, 15 and higher. So young adults to adults.
That's me as well. Adolescents and adults. Yes, all the way. Okay, beautiful. All right. Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think the best tip that we can kind of go and as we experience is as soon as we wake up in the morning, kind of check where our headspace is at.
Mhm.
Is our headspace more positive? Is it more negative? And then just reflect. Don't add judgment of, oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That must mean I've done something wrong. No, just reflect. Did you have a rough night of sleep? Are you stressed about what's going to happen today? And really just start to validate your own feelings, because everyone right now is experiencing so much stress. I think we're really forgetting to give ourselves compassion for what we're going through. Everyone keeps saying, well, they have it harder, or they've been in isolation longer, or they don't have family support. And everyone's trying to like downplay their own experience with COVID-19. And I think it's just so important to validate what you're going through. You know, this is your experience and your journey. And if it's hard for you, acknowledge that it's hard. Or if it's positive, acknowledge that it's positive. But don't be afraid to have those feelings just because someone else might have it harder or someone else might have it better. So really just, you know, taking that moment, taking that deep breath and saying, this is where I'm at on my journey. I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, and I'm going to continue moving forward.
Mm. So tell me, do you have any thoughts about how you foresee things going after COVID is over?
Mm-hmm. So where I'm at in Alaska, we are releasing the hunker down. It's being lifted. And there's so much fear of going into the public and even interacting with friends and family. So our hunker down was lifted about a week ago, and more things and phases have been increased. And all last week, all of my sessions were like, I'm being invited to outside barbecues, and I don't know if I can commit to that. I'm being invited to this, but I don't have social skills anymore. How do I even socialize? And so I'm really trying to normalize, make it weird. It's going to be weird for a while. Embrace that it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird for them. You're not the only one that's going to be feeling weird. And that's, I think, going to be the next transition is how do I socialize post quarantine? And can I socialize? Am I going to get judged for going to an outside barbecue 6 feet apart where I brought my own food? And is this going to be a shame culture of like, you're not hunkering down good enough, or you left your house too soon? And so I think there's going to be a huge transition of how do we even acknowledge something that we've never experienced before?
Yeah. It sounds like as mental health professionals, we have our work cut out for us. I want to say to you, because I think it's very important that I say this, I so appreciate you being on the show. Reason being is because I think often as mental health professionals, although I'm in Florida and you're in Alaska, is we forget to make a connection with each other. And understanding how important that we make the connection and glean from each other and push each other and, you know, strengthen each other. You have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel, but you're still here. And I think it's beautiful that we could do this because it shows other mental health professionals that, hey, this is a grand world. We should be here supporting each other, because by supporting each other, it helps us instead of saying, oh no, she's doing her thing over there, so let's compete. Because the world is so big. Mental health can go on for years, the rest of our life. Let me just say that, the rest of our life. So it's not like we're putting each other out of a job or a position, because we can talk about mental health forever, because we know that we transition in our mental state as we grow. It's part of our development. And so topics on mental health will never end. And so I applaud you and to say thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you're having me. And I, like you said, I just think it's so cool that you and I do very similar work. We do trauma work. We work with the same population. And to know that we're both making impact in different parts of the world and still being able to take a moment to pause and say, hey, you're doing awesome. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Okay. So tell viewers how they can find you.
So you can just research my name, Elisabeth Cotton. I'm right there on, I guess, I don't know, Google, right there on Google, on YouTube. It's just Elisabeth Cotton. And I'm very new, I think like 2 months into this whole process, and it's been an amazing journey, and I've gotten just so much good feedback. I've been able to meet you through this process. So yeah, Elisabeth Cotton.
Wonderful. Lisa, I would really like to have you back again, and let's kind of just get together and collaborate and see how we can advocate for mental health and continue to do what we do. I believe that what we do is very powerful because I understand the process that everything that we do, thus is the name of the show, we intake cognitively. And depending on how we process that information once we intake, you know, all of this stuff from our environment, our culture, society, it has a great effect on us. It can have either a negative or a positive effect on us. Yeah. But for sure, it conditions our thoughts, our behavior, our beliefs, and so many other things. And so I love it when I can connect with therapists like yourself and be able to say, hey, this is a matter that is so important that we have to get together and have a platform to be able to talk and educate society, the world as a whole, that this mental health that we deal with on a regular daily basis is so very important to our overall life. So thank you again for being on the show. Viewers, please go out and just support what Alyssa is doing. I've watched her YouTube videos and I love it. You know, the whole coping and telling people how to cope, you know, I love it. And so it's a great idea. So go out and support, do what you can. And again, any other therapists out there that would like to be on the show, you're more than welcome because we're better together. And Alyssa, I do thank you again for being on the show. Yes, do you have any last words you want to say before we end?
Just lots of self-compassion and no judgment for whatever your experience is.
Beautiful. But thank you again for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
You do the same. Bye-bye. So that's it for Bertha's Corner. Thank you for watching, and remember to continue to talk about mental health and how to make yours a priority. If you're a professional who would like to be on the show or an individual who has struggled with mental health and would like to be a guest, email us at info@intake.tv.
Follow us on all of our social media platforms.
Okay.
Intake is the place to be.
It's because